9 weeks remaining. Let's see here. Got some goulash and some burek. I went a little, how would you put it? Went a little wild this weekend just because I've worked like 3 weeks in a row at like 100 hours each, so I decided to let loose a little bit. Let's see. To begin, let me explain. My company does something called profit sharing. And the mechanism by which it does this is it issues out a certain number of shares, not like publicly traded shares. It's a private company. It's not a joint stock company. It's a completely internalized system of shares, and they distribute shares based on your annual salary and how long you've been with the company. So if I do it right, I'm pretty sure I have around 70 shares, something like that. The numbers aren't really that important. What is important is a certain amount of the profits at the end of every quarter is set aside to be redistributed to the people who work in the company, and it's divided based upon how many shares you have with the company. Additionally, the company also has a system where they have an extra set of shares that the supervisors can distribute out to incentivize and reward hard work. And I was selected for this, so I ended up getting an extra $1,000 on top of the $600 that I automatically earned with my profit sharing. So that was super exciting. Hard work does pay off. On top of that, let's see, I got this book, War for Eternity by Ben Teitelbaum. He is a professor of ethnomusicology at the University of Colorado Boulder, I believe. But he is considered one of the leading experts on traditionalism and far right-wing political movements. And in this book, he interviews Alexander Dugin, which is widely considered to be the most dangerous philosopher in the world, who is a traditionalist who routinely invokes the work of Evola and Rene Guénon. And he's like a pseudo, not really like a advisor to Vladimir Putin. He's been in the news recently. I think he was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson maybe a month or two ago. But he interviews him, and he also interviews Steve Bannon, which obviously was the guy who was in charge of Trump's campaign in 2016, I believe. Who I guess also is familiar with the traditional works. So he interviews these two people along with some other people. Like, I know there's a Brazilian political thinker that he interviews and a couple other people. And all of the interviews are basically in this book. It's a fascinating read. I picked it up because I could not find a PDF version of it. And I took this book and started taking some notes. Went to a cigar lounge because I figured at the end of a 102-hour week, that's when I kind of made the decision that I was gonna, enjoy life a little bit. So I went to CVS and I got a bar of dark chocolate, which is my favorite, and I enjoyed that. And then I went to the cigar lounge and got a 2-finger pour of Buffalo Trace and a nice cigar, and I just sat in the back by myself and read through the first 4 chapters of this book, and it was really captivating. I couldn't put it down. I was there a little longer than I had expected to be, or I had fully intended, because the book was really captivating. I just kept reading it. I'm using the wrapper from the cigar as a bookmark. Ben Teitelbaum's work and the work of Mark Sedgwick They're considered the two leading intellectuals, or like academic intellectuals, on the traditionalist movement. Mark Sedgwick is a professor of Islamic studies in some university. I think he's in Denmark now, but he's from London, and then he taught in Cairo, Egypt, which is where he became, first introduced to Sufism, which is it's a sect of Islam that is like mysticism. And through Sufism, he came across the works of Rene Guénon, because Guénon famously converted to Islam and joined a sect of Sufis and moved to Cairo, Egypt, towards the end of his life, until he died in 1951. But I'm basically reading through their works so that I can get a comprehensive understanding of how all of these ideas, where they came from, and how different ideas melded together to create the traditionalist movement, so I can have a broader context in which to contextualize all of the ideas as I go through them in my lecture series. But yeah, and then I went, and last night I went to that bar that I went to a few weeks ago, and the turtle races, which was super fun. Actually, I went with a coworker who was not Jessica. Jessica was originally supposed to come with both of us, but she ended up not coming for some reason. Didn't really go into any detail, not my business. But it was just me and him. And the way that they did it, like they had like this raffle system, like pseudo system of raffle ticketing, where every time you bought a drink, they would give you a ticket, and they'd take the other half of the ticket, because a roll of tickets, there's 2 of them. They'd take half the ticket, put it in a bowl, and you'd keep the other one every time you bought a drink. And then before each turtle race, they would randomly select one of the tickets from the bowl and read the number, and that would basically allow you to pick a turtle. One of the turtles that was racing. And if your turtle wins the entirety of the tournament, then you win a trip to Mexico. But the funniest thing happened. First of all, I felt a little cheated, because we definitely did not get a raffle ticket with every drink that we bought. And it was mostly because the guy behind the bar, it was evident that he was like a brand new employee and he was super stressed out. But I didn't really want to pester him about like, oh, you owe me like 8 tickets, right? But, it's a fucking turtle race. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm probably going to Mexico anyway when Jessica gets married to Guadalajara. So, yeah, I wasn't too stressed about it. But the funniest thing happened is Luis, the guy that I was with, they read his number. But the funny thing is they had 2 different rolls of tickets that were 2 different colors, because they wanted to use the rest of the red ones that they had before moving to the other roll that they had. So the number that was read was his and someone else's, and they gave it to someone else because the color of the ticket matched theirs and not his. So that was a little upsetting. I also, as soon as he got there, he was like, you know what I'm in the mood for? A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I was like, that sounds like a fantastic idea. So I DoorDashed a box of Uncrustables. Those like circle PB&Js that you keep in the freezer. Which was a huge hit. Like, I started handing them out the bar and everyone fucking loved them. There was this one girl who was like, I'm allergic. And I was like, well, go away then. Don't ruin everyone else's fun. And then after that, we went down the street to Fitz's and did some dancing there. And then he wanted to go to a bar in Arlington Heights that he's fond of. So we did that. And we played Jenga. Didn't really talk to anyone. It wasn't really that busy. Then we got in an Uber to go to a club. And right as we're pulling up to the building, it's evident, he was sleeping and then passed out in the car the whole time. And then right as we're pulling up to the location, he wakes up. He like jolts awake, and he starts like, it's evident that he's gonna throw up. And I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. You gotta wait. You gotta wait 1 more minute. We're literally right here. Do not throw up in this Uber. I am not paying for it. And the girl driving's like starting to freak out. She's like, where's it at? Where's it at? I'm like, just pull over. Just pull over. They're basically here. We can walk. It's right there. So she pulls over and he gets out of the car and immediately throws up on the ground like 3 times. Yeah, buddy couldn't hang. He's like substantially younger than me. I think he's like 22 or 23. Yeah, he couldn't hang. He couldn't hang. But that was last night, and then I woke up this morning at like, must have been like 2 p.m. So I got a full 8 hours of sleep. Because all the bars here, or the clubs here, close at like 5 in the morning. Chicago's kind of weird because it's like, it's made of a bunch of different like subsidiary townships, and they all have different blue laws. So you could be going to bars in one place and they close at like 12:30, but then if you like literally cross this arbitrary border, it's like 5 in the morning. But yeah, that's what I did last night. And then I've just been having a lazy day, you know, all day today. Decided to, you know, since I was already kind of letting loose this weekend, that I'd go up to, I think it's Elk Grove Village, which is where that European place is, like that Slavic food, where I got the goulash and the burek, which is what I'm eating today because I needed something like, goulash is good for the soul. You know what I mean? It's like chicken noodle soup. You know, it's very different than chicken noodle soup, but I think you understand like what I mean, like what a nice hot hearty soup represents. Like spiritually, it has like this like nourishment feeling that's just outside of like consuming regular food. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, but it's hard to like find the language to describe what it is that we commonly experience as this like this thing, you know? So I'm here doing my laundry. I think this week I'm going to be in deep reflection about some ideas that I've been grappling with all day. So I'm going to be fasting to kind of, it's one of the things that I do to kind of put intention behind my contemplation and my thoughts. And one of the ways that I commune with God, it's really hard for me to describe it, like what it is that I think and feel about, but that's the reason that I fast. So I'm going to be, you know, kind of reflecting on a bunch of things this week. And I'll be fasting in order to, you know, to devote all of my energy and my conviction into my contemplation. So that's also one of the reasons why I decided to get some good food today. It also means that I don't have to go grocery shopping today. And I also don't have to do my replenishments, because my replenishments essentially is me refilling my mouthwash and my flossers, like my floss picks. But if I'm not eating all week, then I don't need to brush my teeth. You know, by the last day though, like I kind of feel like I really, really want to wash my teeth. Brush my teeth. So that's what I'm going to be doing. My coworker is off this week at my day job, so I'm going to have to be covering him. So instead of going in tonight and then immediately going into work after, I'll be going into work tonight, going to the parking lot of my work, going to sleep then, and then waking up, going to work at my day job, now my evening job, I guess, and then going from there straight into work at night in Romeoville. So it's gonna be It's going to add a little bit more stress, breaking my normal sleeping routine on top of the fasting, but I think it's good because I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you put your mind into like a state of, how would you put it? It's like part of the reason why I do all of these like all these weird ascetic practices like fasting or, you know, giving up my vices, generally like in practice making my life miserable to some extent. This whole experiment with living in the car. Because I feel like if you put your mind in a state of survival, or like if you're in a state of mind where your brain is working fast to interpret the world around it in order to problem solve because it's in a state of emergency, then that's when like a lot of my ideas and my creative processes become more prevalent, if that makes any sense. It's like almost like unlocking the full potential of your brain and your mind and the capabilities of your body all in one package. I don't know. It's just, I know it's weird, and it's like, it's weird for me to talk about because it's just something that I do unconsciously now. I've been doing it for so long. But yeah, it helps me like contemplate deeper and to be more expressive and to, you know, commit more time and energy and intention into shaping and molding the ideas that are running through my head and committing them to paper and to start like building a logical system out of them. So yeah, I guess there's a little like field trip into how my brain works. If you're interested. Didn't have time to write any letters because I woke up so late and I've been having generally just a lazy day. The only reason I'm here at the laundromat, the one chore I'm doing today, is because I don't want my wet towels from showering over the weekend mildewing behind my seat and smelling up the car. Super excited for Thanksgiving coming up. Flying into Fort Myers. Cape Coral is the name of the place where Michael T's house is, by the way. I couldn't remember what it was last video, but it's Cape Coral. But I'm sure anyone who lives in Florida probably could have put it together that if I was flying into Fort Myers and it has the word coral in it, what city it was. Super excited for that. Super excited to see the family. You know, it's also really interesting, you know, to tie it all together, like with me studying the history of stuff in my ascetic practices, that one of the reasons that led me into asceticism was my study of history. Because if you study history to any degree, you realize that humans for the longest time have been without, you know, most of the amenities and commodities that we have as modern individuals. Things like access to water, you know, to bathing regularly, to, you know, to food all the time whenever you need it, you know, to shelter. You know, you realize like what humans are capable of, and through that understanding you understand what you are capable of because you are a human. I highly encourage anyone to at least try, you know, a little bit of it. Like, try fasting for 3 days. Seriously, you'll learn a lot about yourself. It's like you also use it as like a mechanism by which to build confidence in yourself and to take on bigger tasks and bigger challenges. because you already have these preconceived notions on who you are and what you're capable of. And then when you start pushing that precipice and that threshold, and you start realizing that you're capable of a lot more than you thought you were, then you build confidence to approach bigger and bigger tasks until, you know, all of a sudden you're doing all of these things that to most people are impossibilities. But, you know, it's just like training or like practicing a musical instrument. It's the same principle, but just more generally across like the way that you live your life. I don't know. Sorry to get all philosophical on you, but I ended up pulling 2 hours of overtime every day at my night job, which is the higher paying one, which also awesomely has a lot less responsibilities than my day job. So I'm expecting a fat check coming. I mean, I'm making a lot of money right now with all this overtime that I'm pulling. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks that I work 100 hours and I'm really, really exhausted, pretty much dragging my feet from cat nap to cat nap because I only sleep 3.5 hours a day. But, you know, I don't have to do this forever. I don't expect to do this forever. It's just, I have to do it right now in order to make good on my goals. But, you know, the suffering almost makes it enjoyable in a way, you know, because you're doing something different. Oh, that rice is so good. I don't know how they do it. I also ended up working at the other building at my day job for the first time this weekend because they weren't accepting any overtime at the building that I work at, so I volunteered to go to the other one, which is a pretty cool experience to see like how much differently it's ran. So the difference being is like at the building that I work at, it's like really large items. Our company in the past couple of years started doing distributing HVAC parts, which are very big. They're like evaporator coils and, you know, and also the regular parts we do are for commercial kitchen appliance parts. So all of like the doors and the big items, they all come through my warehouse. Whereas at the other warehouse, the primary building where I worked at this weekend, it's all the little items. It's like thermostats and knobs and screw packs. And so it's a lot different the way that it's organized. Also because my warehouse is a lot younger, and we're still trying to experiment and work things out in a way that makes it more efficient. When I started working there, half of the product, more than half of the product was just on the floor in lanes, and we would take a walkie rider and just drive up and down the lanes to pick orders. Now everything's in shelves. And what my job essentially is at this is to organize the warehouse based on which items sell the most, which are the heaviest. You know, it's basically one giant like logistical problem that I'm working at all the time on how to make the warehouse flow more efficiently based on a myriad of different factors. So that's what my job is. I don't think I've ever explained that to anyone on here, but there it is. But yeah, my laundry's probably done. I need to go in, swap it to the dryer, edit this video, and get it out to you. Even though I am going to be going to sleep after this shift, I think I'm still going to try to fit in a small nap. Just because I'm feeling a little tired. But that's about all the updates I have for you. Tune in next week. I have absolutely jack shit planned. So it's going to be a boring one. Love you. Peace out.